You want to hear my story. I don't usually tell it. Not because I'm ashamed, but because dragging it back into the light means reliving every raw, humiliating second. I've buried most of it deep locked tight, where it can't hurt me or my daughters anymore. But if there's even one person out there standing at the edge like I was unsure whether to stay and fight or walk away with nothing but your name, then maybe it's worth telling. Whether I was right or wrong, I made the choices I believed would protect my daughters. And sometimes that means becoming the man you swore you'd never have to be. It started with a single email, a flat, cold subject line that said, "Let's be adults about this." I was stationed in Kandahar, halfway through my 4th deployment. 13 years of marriage ended with a PDF attachment and 3 hollow sentences. Her name is Rachel. We met when I was 27, a wild-eyed infantryman from Oklahoma, fresh out of Fort Benning, with nothing but ambition and a worn-out duffel bag. She was studying to be a nurse, kind, clever, and a little reckless, exactly the kind of woman who could talk me out of re-upping. Or so I thought. When I got the email, I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't even curse. I just stared at it until the screen blurred, then closed my laptop, walked to the communal showers, and stood under the water until my skin was raw. My bunkmate, Ramirez, asked if I was okay. I lied. Just some stuff back home. And that was that. Men like us, we don't fall apart in public. We break in silence. But here's the part Rachel didn't know. I saw it coming. Not in a thunderclap or a gut punch. More like a slow leak, a smell of smoke before the flames. 6 months before deployment, Rachel stopped laughing at my stupid jokes. She started working late, started girls' nights that ended with her coming home after midnight smelling like a bar and someone else's cologne. New passwords on her phone. New clothes I never saw her wear around me. I didn't snoop. I'm not that guy. But I started preparing. Quietly. Carefully. I moved everything that mattered into a rented storage unit 20 minutes outside town. My grandfather's watch. My mother's silver. The original deed to the house, thank God still in my name thanks to the VA loan. I opened a second bank account and diverted part of my pay into it. Not much, just enough to keep me afloat if the worst happened. I didn't want to believe it would. But I'm a soldier. We plan for worst-case scenarios, even when they wear your last name. The day I deployed, she hugged me at the airport. No tears. No tremble in her voice. Just a flat stay safe. Okay. Like I was going on a weekend trip, not a combat mission. I should have known then. I think part of me did. 2 weeks after that email, I got a notification while eating powdered eggs in the mess hall. $86,000 withdrawn from our joint savings. Gone. Clean. The bank confirmed it had been transferred to a private account under her name. I sat there, motionless fork hovering above rubbery scrambled eggs, while men around me laughed and FaceTimed their families. I didn't say a word. Just stood up, dumped my tray, and walked out into the sun-soaked sand. That night I logged into our home security system from my bunk. She forgot I still had access. There he was. A man I'd never seen before, wearing my Seahawks sweatshirt, using my coffee mug. My dog, Buckley, licking his hand. My wife, no, not my wife anymore, laughing in the kitchen I remodeled with my own 2 hands. The same kitchen where we used to dance barefoot to Springsteen after putting the kids to bed. Something inside me cracked. Not with rage. Something colder. Sharper. It wasn't grief anymore. It was clarity. This was war, and I don't lose wars. I made a list. Call Travis, old buddy turned JAG lawyer. Review loan documents. Verify my pension. Check security footage. I didn't sleep. I didn't cry. I strategized. I planned. Because if Rachel thought she could dismantle my life while I was protecting this country, then she didn't know me at all. This wasn't about heartbreak anymore. This was about honor, about consequences, about justice not just for me, but for every soldier who kissed his wife goodbye at the airport believing he still had a home to come back to. I returned to American soil 2 months later, not with flowers or fanfare, but with a silent fire in my chest. I didn't call Rachel, didn't text. I checked into a dingy motel in Spokane Valley under the name Michael Hale, a name I'd once used in a training exercise overseas. The front desk clerk didn't ask questions, just slid me the key with a grunt and a tired nod. That suited me just fine. My first stop wasn't home. It was Denny's. Travis was already in a booth at the back, nursing black coffee like it had wronged him. He slid a folder across the table the moment I sat down. Everything we talked about, he said, and something extra. Inside were copies of the house deed, the bank records, our marriage certificate, and one thin slip of paper that made my blood run cold. She tried to refinance the house, Travis said, watching my face. 3 months ago. Used a signature that wasn't quite yours. I stared at it. The handwriting was close, but the middle initial was wrong, and the angle of the N in Nathan was off. It wasn't mine. It was a forgery. She forged my name, I asked quietly. Yup, Travis said, and her boyfriend's name, Jared Kane. He's listed as a co-applicant. You know what that means. That she was planning to sell the house, I guessed. Travis nodded. They pulled $312,000 in equity. Money sitting in a private account somewhere. Probably already moved again. I didn't speak. I just breathed. In, out, slowly, methodically, like I was back on a sniper range, timing every breath to the squeeze of the trigger. She also took your truck, Travis added. Had him driving it. He got pulled over last week, suspended license. They impounded it. Of course, why not add grand theft auto to the list? That night, I sat in my motel room watching the feed from my home security cameras. She'd never changed the login. Didn't even think to. I saw Jared in my living room again. Wearing my flannel. Drinking from my whiskey bottle. The camera in the hallway caught him tossing a football to our dog, my dog, and laughing like he owned the place. I didn't see Rachel, but I heard her voice faint through the hallway mic. She sounded comfortable, at home, like this was hers now. That's when I realized it. She thought I wouldn't fight, thought the uniform made me predictable, honorable, tame. But she forgot honor isn't weakness. It's a blade. And I was done pretending. The next day, I walked into the downtown branch of our bank and met with the fraud investigator, a doughy man named Cooper, with a crooked tie and a sweating brow. I slid the real signature from my license across the desk beside the forged one. His eyes widened. Oh boy. That's forgery, I said. On a VA loan, no less. He swallowed. We'll need to report this immediately. I already have, I replied. Police reports filed. I just need you to verify it. That night, Rachel texted me. Jared said someone was asking questions at the bank. Nathan, what's going on? I didn't reply. The next day, I went to the county clerk's office and filed paperwork freezing any legal action on the property. No changes could be made without my signed approval. No sales, no transfers, not so much as a coat of paint. When she found out, she called. I let it go to voicemail. Nathan, we need to talk. If this is about the divorce, we can still be adults about it. The same phrase, the same smug tone, as if what she did was some business transaction we could settle over coffee. I met Travis at the motel that night. He had news. The bank froze the funds, but about $18,000 was already transferred guess where? Where to a guy named Mark Riley, real estate agent. Fast cash deals. Name ring a bell. I shook my head. He's done 3 shady sales with Jared Kane in the past year. Same pattern. Woman gets divorced, house gets sold, undervalue. Jared pockets a finder's fee, and they disappear. A chill crept down my spine. She was going to sell the house right out from under me, I muttered. Worse, Travis said. We think she's the 4th military wife they've pulled this with. You might not just be a victim, you might be the one who brings them down. I stared at the ceiling, that night, hands behind my head, heart pounding. It wasn't just betrayal now. It was organized fraud, a network, a con. And I was done waiting for justice to knock politely. I was going to open the damn door myself. The next morning, the security footage from my house told me everything I needed to know. Jared and Mark Riley stood in the living room. Riley snapping pictures, Jared bragging about how he'd talked her into selling quick. He's military, Jared laughed. Won't be back for months. They never fight back. I hit record. Every second. 30 minutes later, FBI agents swarmed my house. Jared and Riley were dragged out in cuffs, while Rachel stood on the porch, face pale hands over her mouth. She looked right into the security camera. For the first time, she realized I'd been watching the whole time, and I was just getting started. Rachel tried to call me that night twice. Left voicemails that were mostly just her breathing, stumbling over apologies that never quite formed into words. I didn't answer. I just sat on the edge of the motel bed, my hands clenched into fists, feeling the weight of 13 years settle on my shoulders like lead. The next morning, I met with FBI agents Donovan and Patel at their Spokane field office. Patel looked sharp and composed, while Donovan had the weariness of a man who'd heard too many lies and still expected more. They asked questions. I gave them everything: bank records, the forged documents, the refinance papers, even the security footage from my home. When Patel saw the video of Jared and Mark laughing about military husbands being too distracted to fight back, her eyes narrowed. This helps establish a pattern, she said. Not just fraud, but organized conspiracy. I nodded. They're targeting deployed military, using our absence as opportunity. Donovan leaned back. We've had reports of similar cases in Nevada and Arizona. You're the first to bring us hard proof. I didn't feel vindicated. Not yet, just tired. Like I'd been carrying the whole damn world on my back and didn't know how to let it go. Patel handed me her card. Keep us updated, and don't contact your wife directly. We're building a case now. I nodded. Understood. That evening, I got another message from Rachel. Nathan, I swear, I didn't know about Mark. Jared told me it was all legal. I didn't know he forged anything. I didn't believe her. But I also didn't care enough to argue. This wasn't about love or revenge anymore. This was about truth and consequences. 2 days later, she texted again. Meet me at Riverfront Park. Please, I just want to explain. I showed the message to Travis over coffee. Don't go, he said immediately. She's spiraling. Let the feds handle it. I'm not going, I said, but I am going to watch. At 9:30 a.m., Rachel drove off alone. Travis and I watched from across the street. 20 minutes later, a car pulled into my driveway. Real estate logo on the side. Mark Riley again. Jared stepped out to greet him, still bold, still smiling. They went inside. They think I'm still overseas, I whispered. They still think this is their house. Inside, the cameras caught everything. Riley snapping photos, Jared pointing out features I'd renovated with my bare hands. My fingers gripped the phone tighter as I turned up the volume. Should list by the weekend, Riley said. Cash buyer already interested. Offer at $420, Jared asked. Exactly. Becky thinks he'll make noise but settle fast. Military guys always do. I forwarded the footage to Agent Patel. Just 2 words happening now. 30 minutes later, the street lit up in red and blue. FBI vehicles surrounded my home. Jared and Riley were let out in cuffs. The neighbors stared. Rachel pulled up, brakes screeching, face white as a ghost. She ran up the lawn shouting Jared's name. He didn't look back. Agent Patel called me. We got it all, she said. Wire fraud, conspiracy, real estate fraud. Jared and Riley are going away for a long time. And Rachel? I asked. She's distressed, Patel said carefully. But we're still determining her level of involvement. I looked out the window at the place I used to call home. Rachel stood frozen near the porch, watching the agents carry out boxes. Her mouth moved, but no sound came. I just want what's right, I said. And I meant it. The case moved fast. Jared and Riley flipped on each other. They confessed to running similar schemes in 3 states, using women like Rachel as bait, some willing, some just manipulated. In court, Rachel claimed ignorance. Said she thought Jared was helping her take control of her life. Said I'd become distant, married to the Army. I didn't press charges against her, but she signed a full confession acknowledging the forgery, the hidden account, and her role in the refinancing. In return, she forfeited all rights to the house, my pension, and our shared assets. We divorced quietly, no alimony, no custody battle, no words. Months later, I got a call from Agent Patel. Thought you'd like to know. Jared got 9 years. Riley got 12. And your case helped us uncover 11 other victims. I didn't say much. Just stared at the mountains from the porch of my new place outside Missoula. 10 acres of silence. A rescue dog named Moose asleep at my feet. I'd taken early retirement. 20 years in uniform was enough. I now spent my days splitting firewood, fixing fences, helping neighbors with odd jobs. Quiet life. Honest work. No lies. One day a letter arrived. A woman from Fort Worth. Her husband, a Navy officer, had nearly fallen victim to the same scam. You don't know me, she wrote, but you saved our family. Thank you for fighting when it was easier to give up. I pinned that letter to my fridge. On the hard days, when I remembered the betrayal, the humiliation, the hollow silence of coming home to an empty house, I'd look at it and remember that sometimes justice does show up. Not on time, not clean, but sometimes it shows up just when you need it most. A few months after everything settled, I finally sold the house. I couldn't walk through those rooms anymore. Every creak of the floorboards, every mark on the wall, it all echoed memories I didn't want to carry. The kitchen where I used to cook Sunday pancakes with Rachel was now just another room in a house I didn't recognize. I took the money and bought a small cabin outside Missoula, Montana. 2 bedrooms, 10 acres of tall pine trees, a narrow creek that sang at night and kept me company when silence got too loud. There were no neighbors close enough to hear if I shouted, and I liked it that way. I named my dog Moose, part German Shepherd, part whatever life threw in. He was a rescue, abandoned, half-starved, scarred from whatever past he came from, but loyal. fiercely loyal. We understood each other without saying a word. I started doing carpentry. Nothing big, just custom shelves for folks down the road, fixing porches, replacing window frames. Work that kept my hands busy and my mind quiet. My military pension paid the bills. My tools kept the ghosts away. One night, as the snow fell, in thick silence, I lit a fire and opened an old wooden box. Inside were my army patches, a faded photo of my unit, and the letter from that woman in Fort Worth. I read it again. You don't know me, but you saved our home. Thank you for fighting back when it would have been easier to walk away. I ran my fingers over the ink, thought about how many nights I'd wanted to give up. Thought about the nights I stared at the ceiling, wondering if I was the fool. Wondering if staying quiet, staying calm made me weak. But no, it made me strong. Because sometimes walking away isn't the brave thing. Standing your ground is. I never heard from Rachel again after the court settled. I heard through James that she'd moved back to Oregon, working at a new dental office, trying to rebuild whatever was left of her life. I didn't hate her. Honestly, I didn't feel anything anymore. Just this stillness piece, maybe, that came not from revenge, but from knowing I survived. That I didn't let them take everything. That even when the people closest to me betrayed me in the deepest way, I didn't break. Some nights, I sit on my porch with a cup of coffee, Moose lying at my feet, and I listen to the wind in the trees. I look up at the stars and think about how everything fell apart so violently, only to fall back into place in a way I never expected. I'm not who I was. I'll never be that man again. But maybe that's okay. Because the man I am now, he doesn't live in fear. He doesn't live in someone else's shadow. He lives on his own land, in his own truth, with his own damn name on the mailbox. And that, after everything, is enough. Would you like me to help prepare this full version for narration? Or would you prefer to write a closing message to the audience as the narrator? Ban Junt Noi, Hai Tiep Tuk, ChatGPT Junt Noi. Sometimes I get letters, emails, messages from strangers, wives, husbands, vets, even kids who stumbled across my story on some forum or shared video. They say things like, "You gave me courage, I thought I was alone," or "I finally stood up for myself." And every time I read one, I realize maybe everything that happened wasn't just about me. Maybe it was bigger than my broken marriage, bigger than the betrayal, bigger than the house, and the forged signature. Maybe it was a fire meant to burn away the lies, not just mine, but those hiding in plain sight all across this country. That's the thing about pain. It carves you open, but if you let it, it also shows you who you really are. I wasn't just some soldier cheated on while overseas. I was a man who refused to go down without the truth. A man who protected what was his, not with fists or threats, but with patience, with planning, with purpose. And I made peace with it all. One cold spring morning, I went down to the creek behind the cabin. The snow had just melted. Moose ran ahead, chasing shadows in the water. I knelt down, cupped some of that ice-cold water in my hands, and felt it sting my palms. That sting reminded me I was alive. I looked up at the sky and whispered to no one, or maybe to someone I once was, "We made it, brother. We're still here." So if you're listening to this right now, sitting in your truck, after a rough day walking alone with a weight on your chest, or hiding a storm behind your smile, this is for you. You are not weak for feeling. You are not broken for trusting. And you are not alone for hurting. What they did to you doesn't define you. What you do next, that's your story. As for me, I've stopped looking back. The road ahead may be quiet, may be rough, but it's mine, and no one's stealing it ever again. That's the end of my story. Take from it what you will. And if someday your world comes crashing down too, I hope you remember this. Sometimes the hardest goodbyes lead to the most honest beginnings. One last thing before I finally close this chapter for good. I never wanted to be the hero of this story. Hell, I never even wanted there to be a story. All I ever asked for was a quiet life, a home I could come back to, a wife who waited with warmth in her eyes, maybe a dog, a backyard, laughter in the kitchen, simple things. But life doesn't always give you what you ask for. Sometimes it gives you fire. Sometimes it gives you storms. Sometimes it gives you silence so deafening you forget what peace ever sounded like. But here's what I've learned out here in the quiet, with nothing but pine trees and old regrets for company. You can start over. You can bury the past without burying yourself. You can look betrayal in the face and walk away with your dignity intact. You can lose everything that made you who you were and still become someone stronger, better. Not in spite of it all, but because of it. If you've ever been where I was alone, broken, abandoned, when you needed love, most I want you to know, you are not the ashes. You are the fire that rises from them. And no matter what they took from you, they can't take this, your truth, your strength, your future. That's all I've got to say. This story is mine. But if it helps you tell yours, if it helps you stand up, breathe deep, and face whatever comes next, then maybe it was worth it. So now, I leave you with one last question. What would you do if the person you trusted most tried to destroy everything you built? Would you walk away quietly, or would you rise? I already gave you my answer. Now it's your turn.